It's been a second. And let me be clear, if you make fun of the beard, I will cry live on camera. So just take it in right now. I know. Average Magic the Gathering player has the neck beard rocking, but you got to see the vision. You got to lock in, and you got to get over it. If you don't know who I am Alex. I've been playing this game for about 12 years, and I've only been alive for 20 of them. This has been pretty much my entire life. I stopped making content because I lost my 100-day streak and really did not see a reason to. But now I've seen the reason. I love doing this. I love playing Commander. I love CDH. I love Magic in every form, and whatever I can do to contribute to that community, I'm going to, as dumb as it is. Now, you're going to notice I'm very opinionated, which is why I believe it is my honor and duty to present to you every black wrath in the history of Magic the Gathering. Starting off at S tier, this is things that I think should be included in pretty much any deck. If they aren't included in any deck, I think they have one deck where they are not only a wrath, they are a game-winning piece. A tier is something sort of similar. This is not really going to go in every deck, but in the decks it does go in, it's going to be a little bit more powerful. B tier is mid. When you see a B to C tier wrath, you're not going to be like, what are you doing with that in your deck? You're going to understand it, but it's nice. It kills creatures. D tier is where we get to the point where it's like, you're just not killing creatures. Like, you're going to be either one, way overpaying on wraths, or two, not actually getting rid of the biggest threats. F tier is horrid. These are cards that I would never play in decks. Not only would I not play them in decks, I would get mad if I saw one of my opponent play them, because either one, they're beating me with an awful card, which is an insult to me, or two, they're not wrathing the board that I really need wrathed. So F is just horrible, and we'll see if we get any weird or wacky ones. To start off, we're going for the classic, the creme de la creme, Damnation. Destroy all creatures, they can't be regenerated. Regeneration's mid nowadays. We don't actually do it anymore because the rules are too complicated. But I think in general, like, if I see a Damnation in a deck, I'm just like, yeah, that makes sense. I think this is a very simple B tier card. Like, it's not great. No deck is a Damnation deck. But, like, I see it and I go, yeah, 4 mana, wrath the board. I'm not that mad about it. Blight Grenade. Destroy target creature. All creatures get -3/-3. People aren't going to like this, but this is actually what wraths do. Like, 99% of the time, when I cast a wrath, it is destroy the biggest thing on the board, and then also, get rid of some things that matter. Very, very rarely are you actually wrathing because there are 5 separate threats on the board you're, like, terrified of. Usually you're terrified of one thing, and then, like, everything else, yeah, sure. If this card was 4 mana, it would be kind of crazy. If this card was an instant, it would be kind of crazy. If this card was 4 mana and an instant, it would be A tier. As is, it doesn't actually wrath the board. It kind of like just is annoying. I don't love it. I'm getting more mad about it the more I look at it, which means it's probably just sticking in the D tier. Mandate of Abaddon. Choose a creature you control. Destroy all creatures with power less than that creature's power. Importantly, this means that, one, if there's, like, say, a Hydra player, which is a bunch of 30/30s, you're never wrathing their board. And two, it means that you get to keep around a creature. Like, no matter what, you get to pick a creature you control and go, this doesn't die. That is one of the biggest parts that's going to be able to land wraths in A tier. Being able to go, not only wrath the board, but I'm ahead. And this does that, kinda. But sometimes you're just not going to have the greatest creature on board, and all of your opponents are, which means, like, it's sitting in this space where, sure, it's not a wrath. Like, it might hit D tier, but it's also a one-sided wrath, so it might hit A tier, which I think lands it, again, solidly in B. I want to put Damnation higher because I like destroying everything with no, like, recourse. It just happens, so it probably lands about there. Prismaris Eliminator, here's our first creature wrath. If you remember from the white wraths tier list that I did like a year ago, we love creature wraths in this household. Whenever it enters the battlefield, choose one. Destroy a creature, or creatures target player controls get -2/-2. So we're just going to do this for now. It's an enter the battlefield effect, so there's certain like Panharmonicon decks that actually go kind of crazy with this. But that's about it. Sometimes you're playing against tokens and this card wraths somebody out. Sometimes you're playing against like it's hard to say no when I've seen decks play Ravenous Chupacabra, right? Like, I've watched players put Necrotol into a 99, and this is better than Necrotol by a lot. It's a Necrotol that also does additional things, but how is it as a Wrath? It's below F tier as a Wrath. Because target player, neg2, doesn't kill much. But as a removal spell, it's like fine. I think it probably lands in D for about the other reason that the other cards in this section land in D. Then we're going to go over to Perish. Pop all green creatures that can't be regenerated for 3 mana. When I say all Black Wraths, I mean all of them. We're going to see a lot of cards like this that actually do like less than nothing. And they're all going to land in F tier, but we're still going to talk about them. There's a universe where you're playing a blue-black deck that runs some weird cards that turn all of your opponent's creatures green, for sure. There's a world where you build an entire deck around that concept. I've built stupider decks with less synergy pieces in them. Does that mean Perish is good? No. In that deck, you're going to need a lot of turns to set up, and Perish isn't going to give you those turns to set up. How about a real game of Magic? Like, am I scared of green creatures? Kind of. Am I scared of green creatures enough to pack a 3-mana Wrath into my deck just for them? No. If you're in your local friend group and you like know there's a green player there, you could play this as a tech card, but in a real like normal situation, this card's just awful. Pestilence. This is one of the most interesting Wraths like historically. 4 mana for an enchantment at the beginning of your upkeep. If there are no creatures in play, destroy it, which you don't mind because you know it's a Wrath. That's kind of the end goal. Pay a black, deal 1 damage to each creature and each player. This card synergizes with damage effects. If you have anything that says when this is damaged or when you are damaged, it synergizes with indestructible creatures. If you can keep a creature out for a long time, you can just run mana into your Pestilence over and over again and not care about it dying because it's never dying. If you have things like there's a couple demons that say when you lose life, do something. That's pretty okay. There's Enraged Dinosaurs. If you're playing a like 5-color dinosaurs deck with Morphon, Pestilence all of a sudden becomes really scary. I feel like there are just so many situations in which Pestilence is good, and then the like bad case in which Pestilence is bad is you go Pestilence, pay 3 mana, deal 3 damage to all creatures to like stave off somebody who's being actually scary, and then one of your opponents goes Wrath of God. And you go, okay, well, at the end of the turn, my Pestilence dies. Like, you're not mad about Pestilence dying there because you got what you wanted. And you didn't even have to spend the Wrath for it. I could consider at the end of this list Pestilence going into S tier. Right now, it's going to... Pestilence also is getting moved all the way down to B to get into what is happening. Their name is Death. You all may remember a certain crash out I had about a certain white card. So chat. When I do this, I want you all to realize that this card's bad. So I can hear what you're thinking. Alex, 10 mana is not that bad. I don't think you've read this card. It destroys lands. It destroys lands, and you can play cards that make all of your lands artifacts. So then Soul Scour is actually pretty strong, huh? Right? Our artifact decks run a lot of ramp. Why are you so mad on this card? It's because. Do you know what artifacts can do with 10 mana? Genuinely, if an artifact deck has 10 mana on the battlefield, they can perform Cold Fusion. Okay? And I want you to know that it's even better. It might not be 10 mana, but it's still really bad. 6 mana, destroy all non-artifact creatures. I could not list the things you can do in an artifact deck with 6 mana that are better than this. For an example, casting a Damnation and then playing a 2-drop is better than this. Like, anything is better than this. I do not care that you're mono black artifacts. I do not care that you want a one-sided board wipe. Like, this card is just bad. You should be playing better Wraths in your deck. You should be treating yourself better. Practice self-care. Don't put Their Name is Death into your 99. Plague Wind. It's tough because this is a classic. This is like, people call this effect the Plague Wind effect, right? 9 mana, pop all your creatures you don't control. They can't be regenerated. The problem is there's just a better card. Like, we're going to see a better card on this list. And as is, paying 9 mana for a Wrath is scary. You all have seen Cyclonic Rift, 7 mana, bounce all non-land permanents you don't control. And you should know that getting blown out by that it's game over. You know, Insurrection, gain control of all creatures you don't control for a turn. And if you've played against that, you know that it wins the game on the spot. So, Black's version of that effect, Plague Wind, does it win the game on the spot? Kind of. Is it not that hard to get to 9 mana in black because we have Crypt Ghast and, you know, Marcana Revenant? Kind of. Is it 9 mana Wrath? Also kind of. I feel like when you're getting to 9 mana, it's a question of like, why am I not winning the game? So it's going to slide into C tier because I imagine a world where it's very strong. I just don't think this is it. Yahenni's Expertise. 4 mana for a sorcery. All creatures get -3/-3 until end of turn. You may cast a card with converted mana cost 3 or less from your hand without paying its mana cost. Free spells are good. You could look at this as 1 mana. All creatures get -3/-3 as long as you're casting something. And I just can't be mad at it. Like, I've put this card in a lot of decks. Like, a lot. Because the biggest problem with a Wrath is you spend 4 mana on a Damnation. And you go, well, pass. And now your opponents get to untap with 4 mana. So you're getting rid of the board. You're removing 3 boards at the cost of your 1 board. So it's very high in card advantage, which is why we play them in commander decks. But it's low in, like, you're basically forcing a time walk on yourself unless you can do something with those death triggers. Yahenni's isn't a time walk. You still get to play your whole turn, basically, with Yahenni's. I want to put it in A tier because I have put this card in plural decks before. I cannot say that about anything lower than this on the list. I can't even say that about Damnation, and I've been playing Magic since Damnation was good. Yahenni's Expertise is just better. Speaking of cards I've put in plural decks, but probably isn't landing in A tier, Necromantic Selection. Pop all creatures, return a creature card, put into the graveyard this way, under your control. It's a black zombie, into addition to its other types. Exile Necromantic Selection. I love when they have to put that, like, text on cards, because technically this could go infinite with something, and they're, like, scared of this going infinite with something. Let black go infinite with it at 7 mana. I'm like, let's be real. If you're going infinite with Necromantic Selection, there are probably 5 better infinites you could be doing. This card is very interesting because it never, if you don't know, commanders are sent to the command zone as a state-based action. You check state-based actions basically all the time that you're not actively resolving a spell. Therefore, since Necromantic Selection destroys and then puts into the battlefield immediately without letting the spell resolve, you can actually pop your opponent's commander and then reanimate it onto your field and never give them a chance to actually, you know, put their commander into the command zone. So this is one of those weird Wraths that can actually steal a commander. Is that alone enough for it to go into B tier? No. At the end of the day, it's 7 mana, and I just can't deal with the fact that we're paying 7 mana in Wrath of Godding. You could say that it's 7 mana Wrath of God that gives you the best creature on the battlefield, so you're not actually, like, time walking yourself. But I could say that there's a lot of cards that read 7 mana, you win the game in casual EDH, and Necromantic Selection, just not one of them. We have Sphere of Annihilation, actually one of my just most hated of these Wraths. Let's talk about it. X and a black enters the battlefield with X void counters on him. At the beginning of your upkeep, exile Sphere of Annihilation. all creatures and planeswalkers with mana value less than or equal to the number of void counters, and all creatures and planeswalkers in graveyards with mana value less than or equal to the number of void counters on it. The fact that Farewell exile graveyards was like a huge deal in the White Wrath tier list, because like exiling graveyards is crazy. Here it's an active downside. You want your Black Wraths to do something, and most of the things you're doing in black revolve around the graveyard. So there's a lot of decks that are like, you know what? I actually don't mind wrathing here because I'm going to have 7 Blood Artist triggers, right? I'm going to have a bunch of reanimation in my hand. I'm going to have all this stuff. Like, I'm going to be able to build back my board so much more efficiently than my opponents. Sphere of Annihilation doesn't let you do that. Also, it makes you wait a full turn for it to actually function. Like, Nevnurl's Disc at least has combos. You can be like, Nevnurl's Disc, Voltaic Key, untap the disc, tap it immediately, blow up everything. Sphere of Annihilation doesn't. Like, the combo with Sphere of Annihilation is Time Walk. Like, it's just actively very bad. Also, the fact that I'm paying, like, what? I'm paying 4 mana to, instead of, destroying all creatures, exile all creatures with mana value 3 or less, and I have to wait a whole turn for it to do it. I think if Sphere of Annihilation did not exile itself, we would be having a different conversation. Like, if Sphere of Annihilation just said exile the creatures and planeswalkers, I could be like, oh, okay. It's a Wrath that takes a full turn to set up, but if you do, you get to Wrath every single turn, and then, like, the out to that is obviously any artifact removal just guts this. But, it gets to sit around. Maybe they don't have artifact removal. Maybe you get, like, a really strong effect. But no. Instead, it just dies to artifact removal anyways. Like, if you go Sphere of Annihilation, I'm paying 7 into this X spell. Like, I need to Wrath the board. And your opponent goes, Naturalize. You're just actually dead in the water. This is an F tier card, and it's below every other F tier card. This card has never seen play, will never seen play. Killing Wave, X and a black for each creature. Its controller sacrifices it unless they pay X life. This card has synergies with a lot of commanders. I want to pop up the black-green bug commander here because this card genuinely is absurd with it. Every sacrifice, you're getting a ton of value. Any black life gain deck gets to have a lot of fun with this, just being like, Killing Wave X is 5, pay 50 life, keep my board. Everyone else has to either put themselves within dying range or lose their whole board. The biggest drawback with this is, again, remember what I said about Wraths. Oftentimes they are kill the best thing on the board, and then as an added bonus kills everything else. This actually doesn't do that. This kills everything else. Your opponent with that broken commander out is going to go, sure, I'll let my 4 other creatures die. I'm going to pay the 6 life, though. I'm keeping my commander around because my commander kills you. So there are certain decks in which this is actually not going to do much against, but I think there's a lot of decks that play this at such an efficient rate that it's actually kind of insane. So I did say all Wraths, and that unfortunately includes Inner Demon. Inner Demon is our first enchantment aura. It costs 4 mana. It says a creature gets +2/+2 flying and is a demon in addition to its other types. Whenever it enters the battlefield, all non-demon creatures get -2/-2. There's a mono black demons deck. And I think that mono black demons deck runs 5 demons that wrath the board. Why do I want to play this one? I guess there's a universe where there's a creature that really wants to be a demon really badly, and Inner Demon turns it into that type. I guess. It's not F tier. Let me tell you that. I could imagine a real situation where I put this in a deck of Magic cards, and I know there's a situation where I'm playing mono black auras, and I go, Inner Demon is a card that wraths the board sometimes. Inner Demon is a card that gives my commander flying. I like this card in mono black auras. But that's the only situation in which I'm playing, and I'm going to be real. Harvester of Misery is a like incredibly efficient card. 5 mana, 5/4 with menace. Whenever it enters the battlefield, other creatures get -2/-2 again. Pay 2, discard it. Target creature gets -2/-2. This is unable to be countered when you're using its second ability. It's not a spell. It uses the stack, but does not have any, like, you have to stifle this card. Are we willing to put this card in C tier because I imagine there's a world where it sees play in CDH as a uncounterable removal spell in a world where like in a world where WotC bans a lot of very good cards for the format and like the best 2 decks are like Magda, Kinnan. I think there's a world where a lot of black decks start main decking Harvester of Misery. Is that enough for me to put it in C tier? Sure. This is the first card I've seen, and I've been like, this could see play in CEDH one day in a weird scenario. So, sure. You make it all the way up there. Swarm Yard Massacre. Create 2 squirrels. Then, each creature that isn't a insect, rat, spider, or squirrel gets a -1/-1 until end of turn for each creature you control. That is an insect, rat, spider, or squirrel. Y'all ain't gonna believe this. Not quite S tier. 5 mana, make 2/1/1s, -2/-2 is bad enough to get certain cards all the way down in D tier. Not Swarm Yard Massacre. Because in a deck that is, insect typal, rat typal, squirrel typal, spider typal, this card isn't -2/-2. It's make 2 creatures that of a potentially relevant type, and then wrath every creature that isn't yours. It is a one-sided wrath that also advances your board state and also gets around indestructible. We didn't talk about this on the bad ones because they're not good, but like this card gets around any sort of protection and is just like it's incredibly solid enough to throw it in A tier. Not going to try it. Devastation is 2 black and X. Remember, at this cost, we could just be casting Damnation. Lose X life, create X power tokens. Then each creature gets -1/-1 until end of turn for each artifact you control. This is how you do artifact wraths. Like, take notes. Everything that's in the F tier. It turns out I just hate artifact decks is the real answer. But Tresshire's Devastation is like very solid. As is, it is 4 mana wrath the board in an artifact deck that doesn't actually give you anything. But if I'm like, knocking on the top of my deck, I'm like, I need something. I need a way to clear this board. And I draw Devastation. Sometimes I go like, cool, pay 9 mana. I'm going to not only wrath the board, I'm going to ramp myself a lot. I'm going to ramp myself like a considerable amount. I don't think paying X life here matters ever, but it's a weird world where like I'm thinking about an A tier for an artifact wrath, which is very off-brand for me, but it kind of hits. I think we stick B for the moment because it doesn't actually it doesn't do anything incredibly strong. Gix's command is a command, so we get to choose 2 for 5 mana at sorcery speed. Put 2 counters on a creature, it gains lifelink. Pop each creature with power 2 or less. Return 2 creatures from your graveyard to your hand. Each opponent sacks a creature with the highest power. What did I say about wraths? They get rid of the biggest thing, and then also as an added benefit, kills everything else. This does that. It is each player sacrifices their biggest thing, and then pop everything that's like annoying on the ground. Power 2 or less is actually way worse than CMC 2 or less because like you think about the universe where you want to play this and you're playing against like goblins, you're playing against the stupid Naya idiot that gives all your creatures double strike, and you imagine looking at Gix command like, oh, I don't do anything. But you also imagine the world where you go like, each opponent sack your commander. Also, I'm going to pick up my 2 best creatures in the graveyard. And you realize the Gix command is actually like just super solid and probably lands in a high B tier. I'm just realizing how long this is going to take. It has been a second since I made a tier list. Crux of Fate is very incredibly simple. Pop all dragons, pop everything that isn't a dragon. Choose one. If this said choose one or more, it would be S tier. As is, I am slotting it in A tier with the squirrel card. This card has been put into a considerable amount of decks of mine. Any deck that is dragon typal loves Crux of Fate. Any commander that just like is a dragon loves Crux of Fate. Because occasionally you just get to go like, my commander's a dragon. Nobody has any dragons out. Crux of Fate named non-dragon. Kill all creatures. I get to keep my commander. And then, there's the 1 in 100 chance you play against like a dragon deck and you get to go send them straight to the Shadow Realm. Single target, board wipe. Knight Incarnate. Here's my problem with Knight Incarnate. It's just so much worse than this, right? Like, whenever it, 5 mana Death Touch, whenever it leaves the battlefield, all creatures get -3/-3. I can pay 4 mana to essentially cast it as a sorcery. And I don't like it. There's a lot of evoke cards that are like genuinely quite strong. I'm imagining a world where there's like an elemental deck with strong evoke synergies and like is playing all the when you play an elemental do X thing. Do they want to play Knight Incarnate? Not really. It kills all your good cards. But could they in a weird universe? Sure. Bane of the Living, very funny card. 4 mana, morph, X black. Whenever it's turn faced up, all creatures get -X until end turn. It's also a 4/3. I have played this card in a deck once. It was Bells and Lock. It was the deck that is not allowed to play cards under 4 CMC. So it wasn't exactly a fair comparison, but I have put it in a deck before. That's going to put it in the bottom of D tier. It's only not an F because I put it in Bells and Lock. Like, sure. There's an insect typal deck out there that I'm sure plays Bane of the Living. Its biggest problem is that morphs are 2/2s. Morphs are, like, incredibly easy to kill. And the only situation you'd want to play this deck, really, is if you could, like, turn it back face down and, like, flip it over and over again. But this is all creatures, and it's only a 4/3. It does not have Megamorph. So you can at max turn it face up for -2/-2 if you want to keep flipping it face down, in which case it's going to kill all of your morphs. Like, your morphs are 2/2s. This is going to crush your board and give you like basically nothing of value for it. S's Pulse, gain 2 life. Each creature gets -2/-2, or X the number of life you gain this turn. Magic prints these on occasion. They keep printing cards that are like, no, you don't get it. It's a Wrath, but it's stipulated on what the deck does. So life gain players will see this card and be like, oh, it's a Wrath for life gain decks. It's not. It's a Wrath for nobody. Why are you not casting Divination? Why are you playing this card? Don't get it out of my face. I don't want to fucking deal with it. We're not playing Essence Pulse. Stop. Deadly Tempest. Pop all creatures. Each player loses life equal number of creatures destroyed this way. You all aren't ready for Blackburn. Like, when the Blackburn deck list gets posted, you're not ready for it. I hate to tell you this. Deadly Tempest is one of those cards that, like, nobody's actually played Deadly Tempest. It's a fake Magic card that they printed, like, as a joke. But everyone has heard the Deadly Tempest story. Everyone has sat down at a table, made infinite creatures, and passed, and had one of their opponents go, idiot, I have the Rakdos Charm off the top. And they're like, oh, ha ha ha. Yeah, Deadly Tempest is that. Like, it's that for real. You're down to a long end game. Nobody has anything. There's a ton of gummed up boards. And then an opponent rips the top. They read it and go, you're at how much life? And everyone just gets terrified. For that terrifying, I'm actually going to put it in A tier. 1, I've put it in a deck before. 2, it's just funny. And I have to say that. Speaking of funny, Hideous Laughter. 2 black. All creatures get -2/-2. Wait for it. Splice into Arcane. No, I don't think I will be. Splice and Arcane is a problem because you want to be playing this in the, like, Spirit's Arcane deck. The Spirit Arcane deck, by the way, the deck that has all those 1/1s and 2/2s that are going to die to Hideous Laughter. It does have the benefit of being an instant, so I can't blame it there, but this is slotting straight into F tier for, like, no one's ever playing this card. Arms of Hadar. Creatures target player controls get -2/-2 until end turn for 4 mana. So remember that 5-drop we put in D tier because it did this, but like better in every single way? That's why it's landing in F tier. Cloud Kill, 6 mana. All creatures gain Negix, where X is the greatest mana value you own on creatures on the battlefield or in the command zone. I have played cards in this like spirit of when your commander is Progenitus, they do things, and Cloud Kill did not make that list. This is another one of those examples of the life gain card where you go like, oh, I'm playing a big commander. I should play Cloud Kill. No, you shouldn't. You should play Damnation. You should play a Wrath that actually kills everything. Don't play bad Wraths because they synergize with your commander. You should be playing good Wraths that don't synergize with your commander. Hey, do you guys remember Plague Wind? In Garruk's Wake is 9 mana. Again, pop all creatures you don't control and all planeswalkers you don't control. I don't know if you guys have ever played against a Super Friends deck before, but let me tell you, they love Wraths. Like, if you're standing down a huge board of creatures that are about to lethal you and a Planeswalker deck, and you're like, Wrath of God, I guess. The Planeswalker player they're jumping out of their seats. In Garruk's Wake gets to put them back down. You get to go, no, I'm hitting you too. Don't worry. Like, you're also dead. Again, it has the issue of like, it's 9 mana. Are you going to be playing against Super Friends all the time? I hope not for your mental health, but it gets to sit on the list and be all right, just slightly above Plague. Speaking of Plague Spitter. At the beginning of your upkeep, deal 1 damage to every creature in each player. Whenever Plague Spitter dies, deal 1 damage to each creature in each player. It's cute. It is legitimately adorable. It has some weird synergies where like you deal 1 to everything. Yep. Gut shot it. Deal 1 damage to everything again to clear all the X2s. It has synergies in that 5 mana dinosaur commander that I'm lying about that isn't a real deck. It is repeatable, so there are things you can do with it. There are enough things you can do with it that I kind of want to put it in C tier. But it has the problem of like, if you're not doing cute things with it, it's actually quite awful. So I think bottom of C tier is where Plague Spitter goes, because it is adorable, and I have to give it that. Infest, I don't have to give you shit. 3 mana, all creatures get -2/-2. No, they don't. I'm not playing this card in a deck. If I see you play this card in a deck, I'm going to get mad at you. Necroplasm. You know what? No comment on the name Necroplasm. 3 mana, 1/1 at the beginning of my upkeep. I'm going to put a counter on at the beginning of the end step. Destroy each creature with converted mana cost equal to the number of 1/1 counters on it. Devour 2. Sorry, Dredge 2. If it was Devour 2, this card would be much more interesting. As is, it enters the battlefield, does nothing, pops each creature with CMC 0. That's strong. Like, don't get me wrong. It actually outs all tokens the first turn it enters. The next turn it enters, it's like, sure, I get to blow up a bunch of mana rock. I get to blow up a bunch of mana dorks, blow up a bunch of Esper Sentinels, blow up like a bunch of random value creatures, and be pretty happy with myself. And then it goes downhill like almost immediately. You never want to put +1/+1 counters on this unless you can put it to specific breakpoints. And once you put it to a specific breakpoint, it never gets to sit there. If you could sit there and be like, I'm not putting a counter on it in my upkeep, if it was a May, this card gets a lot stronger because like you sit on 6 counters and the Narset player wants to do awful things in the local Denny's bathroom. Like, they actively do not get to play the game ever. As is, though, you kill their Narset once, they like do, I don't know, manageable things in an Arby's restroom and then come back and kill you with infinite extra turns. I'm gonna put this in like mid D tier because I actually don't think it's that bad. I just think that it's incredibly situational and I don't really want to put it in any deck. I would put it in like a mono black +1/+1 counters list. But why am I playing that? Speaking of demons that kill everything, 10 mana rough for an 8/8. Whenever it enters the battlefield, if you cast it from your hand, pop all creatures your opponents control. Then tap all creatures you control. We like creatures that wrath. We like Plague Wind effects. We like Plague Wind effects enough to put it in the top of C tier. Do we like it even a tiny bit more? No. No, not at all. It has the like huge downside that you don't get to actually swing for lethal. Like the strong part about Plague Wind is you kill all your opponent's creatures and then you go, you don't have any blockers anymore. Turn everything sideways, you're dead. Dreadcock Demon does not do that, like ever. So it's just going to sit exactly where it's sitting. Avankar's Justice, do 2 damage to each creature and each player, buyback of 3. With infinite black mana, this card potentially wins the game if you have more life than each of your opponents. With infinite black mana, I could do 100 better things to win the game. But, you know, it does get that. If there's a buyback deck, you don't want to play this in it. But, like, I don't know. It's enough to keep it out of F tier. I imagine there's a deck that plays it less than the Insect guy. It's there. Reaver Demon. It's 8 mana for a 6/6 whenever it enters the battlefield. Destroy all non-artifact, non-black creatures. They can't be regenerated. What are the colors that you're most wanting to wrath? Think about it. It's white, because white makes all those stupid tokens. It's green, because green makes all those like actually scary creatures. And it's red, because red makes all those scary tokens, except now they're goblins. It's not really black. You're not incredibly enthused to wrath the black player 90% of the time. So Reaver Demon, like, it kind of wraths everything you're scared of. It doesn't wrath the 5 mana commanders, like the 5 CMC, 5 color commanders. It doesn't actually deal with those. But is it strong enough to go into the Plague Wind tier? Probably. Is it as strong as Plague Wind? Probably not. It's probably about roughly there, because it is a one-sided wrath sometimes, but it also costs 8 mana, and I would like to win the game with 8 mana. How about 6 mana? Destroy all non-enchantment creatures. This is a solid B tier. I have put this card in decks, plural. Popping all non-enchantment creatures is a one-sided wrath. That is what you want to be doing with wraths. They downshifted it to uncommon in Commander Masters instead of the rare it was in Journey to Nyx. But that does not stop Extinguish from All Hope from being like a... there's nothing to talk about, right? Are you playing a deck with a ton of enchantment creatures in it? Put this card in it. It's a one-sided wrath. What do you want from me? Feast of Succession. All creatures get -4/-4. You become the monarch. Make an attack on Titan reference. I am... I want to be doing something on the board. The monarchy is not doing something on the board. -4/-4. It's honestly not doing much on the board. This card is landing low. It's landing lower than Infest, surely. It's just unfortunately landing above all the artifact wraths because they're all bad individually. Here we land upon our first S tier. Kindred Dominance. 7 mana, choose a creature type, destroy all creatures that aren't of that creature type. This wrath is absurd. It is a one-sided wrath. It is a one-sided wrath that goes into literally hundreds of different decks. Any black typal deck is playing Kindred Dominance in it. 7 mana is a lot, but at the end of the day, it's a one-sided wrath that you just get to play in 100 decks. And it's not, it's not 9 mana one-sided wrath. It is 7, which is a huge deal. I can't say much more about Kindred Dominance. Like, are you playing a vampire typal deck? You're playing this card. Are you playing demon typal? You're playing this card. Are you playing clerics? You're playing this card. Any commander that is typal is going to love this. Sometimes you could play this just as like, I'm playing Progenitus. I'm going to Kindred Dominance, name Avatar. I'm going to guess there's not a ton of those on the battlefield. I'm going to pop everything that isn't exactly my commander. Cacophony Unleashed. So remember that 6-drop we had earlier that popped all non-enchantment creatures? This is 7 mana. It's an enchantment. Whenever it enters the battlefield, if you cast it, destroy all non-enchantment creature. Whenever it or another enchantment enters the battlefield, it becomes a 6/6 until end of turn. No, I don't think I will. This runs into a couple of problems with, like, one, what are you actually doing with it? There's a world where you, like, play this card, wrath everything, play another enchantment, make this a creature, cast a bounce spell on it, pick it back up, wrath again next turn, and you could make kind of a cute little thing there. Is it worth paying one more mana than Extinguish All Hope? No. No. This card is in the B tier because, like, again, it's a one-sided wrath that costs 7 mana. It's something that brung Kindred Dominance all the way to S tier. But it doesn't do good enough on its effect to, like, make it comparable to Extinguish All Hope for me. Crippling Fear. So remember Kindred Dominance. Choose a creature type. Creatures that aren't of the chosen type get -3, -3 until end of turn. We've put a lot of infest effects in F tier. A lot. This card's not going to make it there. It's actually going to make it fairly high into B tier. I have put Crippling Fear, again, into plural decks. Crippling Fear often is good enough to be a small-scale wrath, and getting to save one creature type doesn't necessarily have to be a typal shenanigans. Like, just being able to be like, my commander's a human, I'm going to kill everything that isn't a human. Or going like, I'm going to choose Nephilim and just wrath the board. Gives Crippling Fear a lot of, like, interesting avenues of play. I honestly think that if this was like -4, if this was a Languish, we would be talking about this card a lot more. Elvish Dreadlord is 5 mana for a 3/3 with Death Touch. Whenever it dies, non-elf creatures get -3/-3. Encore 7 mana, exile it from your graveyard. For each opponent, make a copy. They gain haste. Kill them at the end of turn. That means from graveyard, this is essentially a Kindred Dominance. You have to get in the graveyard. I don't know if you know about the black-green zombie deck. It's not absurdly efficient at getting cards into your graveyard. Why do I think this card isn't going to be as high as Kindred Dominance is when it's, like, sort of the same effect? It's the fact that you kind of have to play a 5 mana 3/3. Like, black-green elves is not the type of deck that, like, plays in Tomb main board and is doing Buried Alive strats. It is the kind of deck that is going to be like 5 mana 3/3 Death Touch. And you go, I will not be attacking into that. And they go, oh man. So it's gonna land in the one-sided wrath tier. It's just gonna not land very highly in it. Necrotic Hex. Each player stacks 6 creatures. You make 6 tapped zombie tokens. If this was untapped, we'd have something genuine to talk about. As is, it doesn't actually give you any, like, real blockers. It just, like, it gives you a start on a zombie board. Also, zombie boards don't mind sacrificing creatures, really. They can play a lot of cards from their graveyard. They might even have some zombies that have death triggers. 6 creatures is enough to stop, like, pretty much any board state that hasn't gone, like, super critical already. I don't know. Is this a C tier angle? Like, the more I'm thinking about it, the more I'm like, would I put Plague Wind or Necrotic Hex in a mono black zombies list? I'm putting Necrotic Hex. Would I put Ingarrick's Wake in? I'm putting Necrotic Hex. If I was playing a black-green elves list, would I be happier drawing an Elvish Broodlord or a Necrotic Hex? Honestly, even in the elves deck, I'd probably be happier playing Necrotic Hex. I've never seen this card put in a deck before, but, like, black needs to get to 6 mana to cast Rooftop Storm. Black plays cards that get sorceries back from your graveyard. That's as far as it goes. Like, I can't put a card that I've literally never seen resolve. I've never seen this artwork before. I can't put a card I've never seen resolved higher in B tier, but, like, it's kind of cute. It's kind of cute. I don't know. This was a card that made me fall in love with Eldrazi's. 5 mana, consume the Meek, pop each creature with CMC3 unless they can't be regenerated. Let's start it off. Card's awful. Card is genuinely horrific. Look at that art, though. Look at the red of their tent setup behind, like, the bone of the Eldrazi have, like, gone through and reduced them to ashes. The flavor text is, like, amazing. The flavor text, as you can see, is by a deserter. It's not like, somebody came across the scene. It's like, no, somebody ran away. They were terrified of the Eldrazi, and they were scared, and they ran. And they're the only people who survived. It is a genuinely beautiful card that is landing hard F tier. So do you remember when we played Pestilence and we said this card's an S tier, like an A tier card? Yeah, here. This isn't a Wrath. Like, let's be real. This is a 8 mana like demon that you play in a budget demon type of list, or like a demon type list that isn't particularly strong. It isn't a Wrath. This might end up in the weird and wacky tier because, like, in my head, this card just isn't a Wrath. In my head, Pestilence is a Wrath. It's a repeatable Wrath. Pestilence Demon. Why are you playing this card? You're playing it as a threat that like burns each player for 5, and gets to do that over and over again. Yeah, it's going in weird and wacky tier because I just don't think the normal tiers can contain what this card actually is. This is going to be bad because I've never seen this card before. 4 mana, dragged to the bottom. It's a domain. Neg X, where X is 1 plus... So, again, don't play bad Wraths because they have cute little synergies with your commander. Play good Wraths that don't synergize with your commander. This is so much text. Okay. Black, black, black. At the end of each player's turn, all of their untapped creatures that could have attacked but did not are destroyed. If you do not pay 2 life during your upkeep, Season of the Witch is destroyed. Again, this isn't a Wrath. This is a like floodgate card. It's not actually a Wrath. At the same token, it's like, it's scary in a certain deck. There's a deck that makes it impossible to attack, or impossible to attack you, plays a bunch of Ghost Prison effects, and Season of Witch is like kind of scary in it. It's like scary enough to put it in like, I don't know, a mid C tier, but I think that deck probably has better ways to do what Season of the Witch does, if we're going to be like 100% honest. Deluge of Doom. I can tell what this card is going to be. 3 mana, all creatures get Neg X, where X is the number of card types in your graveyard. No, I don't think so. It's another one of those, why are you playing bad synergy Wraths when you could play good Wraths? But it's a 3-drop. Like, it is a 3-drop. That puts it like really high above everything else, huh? The more I'm saying it in my head, the more I'm like, it's a 3-drop. Like, what if it's the Damnation is such a like perfect representation of, do I want to play this card over a Damnation? No, I don't. But someone could. There's a deck out there that plays Delirium already and is like, I'm really strong. Like, you're a Tarmogoyf deck and you're like, I am very good at hitting Delirium. And this is actually a one-sided Wrath in my Tarmogoyf deck. And I'm like, okay, I believe you. Like, that seems strong. And that makes me want to put it in, like, B tier, because 3 mana for a one-sided Wrath, it's potential. It's not strong, but it's potential. Speaking of potential that never gets met, 8 mana, pop all creatures, destroy or draw a card for each creature destroyed this way. An absurdly strong effect in Hearthstone. You can cycle it for 5 mana, which is discard it to draw. When you cycle it, all creatures get Neg X. There are cards that reduce cycle costs. There are cards that make cycle costs 0. In those decks, Decree of Pain becomes 0 mana, uncounterable, Neg 2, draw. That's really strong. There's decks like Yuriko who are just like, I want to play an 8 mana card that isn't actually 8 mana. Decree of Pain becomes like way stronger. That's all that it takes to get out of D tier. Is like, there are plural decks that I'm like, this card is very powerful in those decks. I want to slide this like maybe there. I don't know. But am I putting Decree of Pain in a normal deck because of its potential to draw me a bunch of cards? No. 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 Doomwake Giant. Whenever it or another enchantment enters, creatures our opponent's control get Neg 1 and Neg 1. This is an S tier Wrath. If you haven't played against a Doomwake Giant, I salute you. If you have played against a Doomwake Giant, I'm so sorry. Doomwake Giant gets to just say, hey, my opponents don't get any creatures. Also, for the rest of the game, I'm going to make it so that you never get creatures. Any X1s, you're just going to like be staring at in your hand like, this does less than nothing. Any X2s, you're like, this does less than nothing. X3 or X4 is where you start to be like, man, I could play this and like maybe it dies to Doomwake Giant and I feel really sad. But it is just, it's a one-sided Wrath that sticks around forever and is super annoying the whole time. Massacre Girl, 5 mana. All their creatures get -1/-1. Whenever a creature dies this turn, each other creature get -1/-1. That is a static effect. So if you go Massacre Girl, wipe the board, destroy one of your opponent's creatures, it will trigger Massacre Girl again. So, only that turn, though. No, you can't do it on, like, you know, your opponent's upkeep when they play another creature. Man, as is, though. As is. I've put this in decks, for sure. Any deck that can reset a Massacre Girl, all of a sudden this becomes like a Wrath that can keep happening over and over again. Stuff like a Flicker deck in an Orzhov Flicker or an Esper Flicker deck. This card becomes like a lot stronger. Is it enough to land it into like A tier? I think so, because as a Wrath, this card is like already kind of as strong as something like a Damnation. Just 5, like this effect, it's hard to explain without having an active board state, but this effect usually just reads Wrath of God, but gets around Indestructible, gets around, you know, protection effects. It is just a Wrath on its own, but it's a Wrath that you can reset, and it's a Wrath you can reset really efficiently because it doesn't have that awful clause that like you have to cast it from your hand. So I think Massacre Girl is definitely up there. Being able to reanimate her, like, Witch's Vengeance. So this is the opposite of that 4-mana card we saw earlier, which is going to land it straight in D tier. Creatures of the chosen type get -3/-3 until end of turn. In a standard deck where you get to be like, oh, my opponent's playing a ton of humans, let's board in a Witch's Vengeance to kill other humans. It's pretty decent. As is, you're paying 3 mana to go like Elf Player. Elf Player, die. You, Elf, now. Elf, you, die. Die. But what about all of your other opponents that are going to be like, you know, attacking you with creatures while you do this? Just not worth it. Just general saying now, if your Wrath is targeting just one player, it's not worth it. 7 mana, Havoc Demon. Whenever it dies, all creatures get -5/-5. You know what I don't want to see whenever I play a 7-mana card? I don't want it to immediately die and have no effect unless it, like, just eats shit and dies. And Havoc Demon, unfortunately, has that clause where it only does shit if it eats shit and dies. Blasphemous Edict. Each player sacrifices 13 creatures at 5 mana. We've talked about how sacrificing 6 creatures is usually enough to wrath the board unless someone's going super critical. Blasphemous Edict wraths the board even if people have gone critical, unless they have like infinite creatures, in which case, just play Infest, I guess. But it has one clause. You may pay 1 black mana instead of this card's original cost if there are 13 or more creatures on the battlefield. This goes above everything else. If you've played Blasphemous Act, you understand that getting 13 creatures on the board is laughably easy. That is, that's 3 creatures per player. And Blasphemous Edict all of a sudden becomes a 1-mana Wrath. You could set up board states in like a zombie deck where you can actually create a board state large enough that you don't have to sack your whole board. But just being 1 mana, partially conditional Wrath that also gets around Indestructible means the Blasphemous Edict is 100% landing in S tier. Liliana is our first Planeswalker. Whenever a creature you control dies, draw a card. +1 to create a 2/2, -4. Here's the kicker. Each player sacrifices 2 creatures. -9. Each opponent chooses a permanent of each permanent type. Sacrifice the rest. We're not going to talk about its -9 because you're not getting there. Let's be like 100%. If you get 4 turns out with Liliana that says when a creature dies, draw a card, you're winning the game. You're never getting to -9 because this card will have already generated you too much value and you will have won the game. But -4 to each player sack 2 means that as is, it's going to wrath like a considerable amount of players and draw you 2 cards and then stick around and be annoying to keep making 2/2s and like drawing you additional cards. It's not going as high as Damnation because it is impacted by the fact that it's not really a wrath. It's a card draw engine that we're like pretending is a strong wrath. But it is a strong wrath at the end of the day. It's 6 mana. Each player sacks 2 creatures, draw 2 cards. That sticks around as a planeswalker afterwards. It's not a bad card to put in your deck. Massacre Worm. Whenever a creature an opponent control dies, they lose 2 life. Whenever it enters, creatures your opponent control get -2/-2. I have put this in plural decks. It is a insane game winner. It just gets to read you have 10 creatures out that are tokens, take 20 life. Like lose your entire life total right there. Massacre Worm just also look at him. Look at his face. He looks so stupid and lovable. Don't you love him? Come on. He gets S tier. Come on. Festering March, 5 mana. Creatures your opponent control get -1/-1. Remove it from the game with 3 time counters on it. Woo! That means you get to play a bad card every 3 turns, guys. Don't you want to play dog shit cards every 3 turns? No. F tier. Stop. Let's go Sanguine Praetor. 8 mana. Already a bad sign. 7/5 Avatar. Pay a black. Crack a creature. Destroy each creature with the same mana value. You know what I love to do when I've made 8 mana? Pay additional mana and pay additional resources to wrath people. D tier, because, I don't know, maybe you're playing an Avatar type deck and this card makes it through the cracks. 4 mana, pop each card with command amount cost 3 or less. Hey, do you remember this card that said they can't be regenerated? It's worse than that. By exactly 1 tiny little thing. 4 mana, Mutilate. Each creature gets -1/-1 for each swamp you control. This card is hitting the Damnation line. It's hitting the Damnation line because it's kind of Damnation. Like, if we're being real, it's not popping like giant hydras, but it's also popping indestructible creatures, so it's kind of there. But it is better than a card called Languish that is going to probably hit B tier. I'm pre-checking. This card's better than Languish. Languish is hitting B tier. This card hits B tier. It does run the problem of only getting to be played in mono black decks, but the solution to that problem is don't play it in mono black decks. Like, I'm not, cards like Plague Spitter aren't in C tier because of how good they're going to be in 5-color elementals. It's up here because there's a considerable deck that wants to play Plague Spitter because of its effect. There are mono black decks that want to play Mutilate because of its effect. So we're going to be basing it off of this. 6 mana, 3/3. It is worse Elish Norn. Other black creatures get +1/+1. Non-black creatures get -1/-1. The buff and debuff actually matters a lot more than you think. There's like a lot of X1s in the format. And when there's not a lot of X1s in the format, it also just makes your opponent's blockers kind of miserable and your attacks like really strong. I've played this in a mono black vampires list before, and it put in so much work and was actually terrifying. It was so terrifying, in fact, it's going to make C tier. It's going to make C tier because it is a wrath that sticks around forever. And I mean, I would be kind of interested in seeing more people pick up Evan Carr and like put it in black decks and kind of see how it works out. Maybe play it in your like black reanimate deck. That's like a like 2 power level, isn't actually that strong of a reanimate list, and play it as like a budget Elish Norn and see how people enjoy it. Noxious Ghoul. Whenever it or another zombie enters, all non-zombies get -1/-1. Hey, do you guys remember the giant that we put in S tier? Oh. Yeah. It lands in S tier. It is 5 mana, repeatable, one-sided Wraths. You're probably confused because you've never seen this in a Black Zombies deck, and the answer is that Black Zombies actually get to run like so many good cards that sometimes they forget to put good cards in their deck. But Noxious Ghoul is genuinely like a very strong Wrath. It is as good as Doom Wake Giant, and honestly probably better because it is not non-token zombies. Like, there's worlds where you play like Noxious Ghoul and the next turn go like crack Gravecrawler 100 more times, like get your whole board out of here, or just like, I don't know, make a bunch of zombie tokens kill you. This card's not bad. I need to fess up, chat. I played this card a lot, like in almost every one of my black decks for a while, because in my head I was always like, no, you guys don't understand. I get to play a Wrath, and then instead of like I can't even figure out how I like forced myself to believe this card was strong. I was like, instead of having to wait a turn to get all my value, I just get all my value now. And it's like, no, the card is just bad, honey. It's all right. You don't have to play all the cards in your deck. I put it in D tier, get it out of my face. I don't want to look at it anymore. Choose odd or even. This is an interesting exile effect. Exile each creature with converted mana cost chosen this way. You'll probably remember this card from being broken in Standard. The issue is that there's actually just so many creatures on the board. Like, there are 13 creatures on the board, and unless you're like a Gyruda deck that gets to play only odd or only even creatures, the Extinction Event's actually going to hurt you like most of the time. Exile, again, remember, in white, Exile was a huge upside. In black, it's a problem. Like, we have to build around the fact that we're going to be exiling our own like cards. There's so much reanimation in black, so much recursion, that it starts to become a little bit of a problem. This card probably slots somewhere in B tier because it is exile removal. Sometimes your deck does not going to care about it. Sometimes your deck is going to be Gyruda, and this is going to be one-sided removal. But it isn't actually a one-sided Wrath that kills everything. It's a one-sided Wrath that kills half of the threats on the board. And there are just going to be more threats. We need to stop looking at Kamigawa cards because they're just making me upset. This is 4 mana. All creatures get -1/-1. Legendary enchantment. Thank God it's legendary. I'd be fucking terrified if we were allowed to copy this card. Slots in F tier, and I just don't have to think about it anymore. That's the good part about this list, is I can just keep going. Whenever a creature you control dies, each opponent loses 1 life. Whenever a creature an opponent control dies, you gain a life. Is that card good enough on its own to get like S tier play? Yeah, probably. What about the rest of the card? X, each creature gets -X until end of turn. That's enough to make it a very solid Wrath. Like, the best part of the Meat Hook Massacre is sometimes you just play black to play a pseudo Blood Artist effect and don't even have to think about the Wrath side of it. But sometimes you really think hard about the Wrath side of it and you gain 20 life and you feel really solid about it. There's no world where this wasn't ending up in S tier. It is weird that our S tier is becoming bigger than our A tier, but, you know, turns out black, weird enough, I know, pretty good at killing creatures. Okay, well, sometimes they're not that good. 2 mana. Separate all creatures, target player. Remember, we don't like targeted Wraths. Target player controls into 2 face-up piles. Destroy all creatures in the pile of that player's choice. This is hilarious. Wow, I've never seen this card be cast ever. But it's 2 mana Wrath. Like, it does break all of my rules, right? We don't like targeted Wraths. We want our Wraths to kill the best card on the board and other things. This does neither. It actually lets your opponent keep the best card on the board or everything else. But it is like, man, it's 2 mana, right? Like, the more I think about it, I'm like, this card's 2 mana. This can be a removal spell at 2 mana. And like, we play 2 mana removal in the format. And this isn't 2 mana removal. It's almost a Wrath. Destroy all creatures. If this card didn't say like destroy all creatures, it said destroy all other creatures, and it like in 4-player incidentally was a 2-mana board wipe, everyone would be calling this card like the best black card in all of CEDH. As is though, this is a card I'm going to start putting in decks, and when I come back, it's not going to be an A tier. Like, I know it. I'm going to start putting do or die in decks, and people are going to be like, what does this card do? And then I'm going to play it, and they're going to go, not good. And I'm going to come back and move it down to C tier. But for now, I have very high hopes for do or die. Sabo's Decree is 6 mana, brother. Choose a creature type. Target player reveals their hand, pitches all the creatures of it, then destroy all creatures of the type that player controls. Man, I'm not paying 6 mana for a single target Wrath. This is going in the same place as Witch's Vengeance because, in reality, it's only targeting one player. Being able to pitch their whole hand, though, is really strong. Like, the way you play around Wraths in a deck like Elves is you play all your creatures out, and then you sandbag, like, 4 or 5 other creatures. So once the Wrath happens, you get to go, cool, brother, put them all back out. This says, no, I'm Gib. I'm taking all of them. They're mine. Hey, so remember that card that I said was going to make B tier earlier? It's time. 4 mana Magic Origins card, which makes me already very hot for this card. All creatures get -4/-4. Simple, elegant, clean. No comment. Eyeblight Massacre. Origins card. I'm already wet. Non-elf creatures get -2/-2. I'm dry as a bone. You look at F tier. It's all just the same card. It's all creatures get -2/-2. I'm not playing this card in a deck. 2/2s are not scary enough for me to put card slots to answer them. Stop. Blood on the Snow. 6 mana. Snow sorcery. Destroy all creatures or planeswalkers. Then, return a creature or planeswalker with CMC X or less, where X is the number of snow mana spent to cast this card. Sure. I'll play this card. I won't even be upset about it. I'm going to be real. I'll play this card A tier enough. Massacre Girl's a better card. Dark Tempest is probably worse. I want to try Do or Die more than I want to play Deadly Tempest. But, like, Blood on the Snow, one, it can choose Planeswalker. So, like if there is a Super Friends player at the table, this does have a little bit of modality. But generally, it's going to be 6 mana, pop all creatures, and reanimate like a 6-drop. Because you're playing this in a snow deck that's only using snow mana, right? And the downside of playing snow lands in your deck is, like, it's just not a downside. It makes, like, duels a little more annoying. But I think Blood on the Snow is good enough to... It's good enough to maintain an A tier, really simply. The Demon of Dank Memes is a 6 mana 5/5. Whenever it ETBs, all creatures get -2/-2. Whenever a creature dies, you get an energy. You can pay 4 energy and 3 mana to return target creature card from a graveyard onto the battlefield on your control tapped. It's weird and wacky. It's not a Wrath. Like, at the end of the day, it really isn't. Its Wrath is, like, slightly interesting. Its Wrath effect would put it at F tier, but the creating energy and being able to reanimate cards puts it at, like, S tier. Like, there are definitely black-based energy decks that want Demon of Dank Memes in the 99. And maybe, like, there are black-based energy decks where this is the best card in your list, bar none. But they're not playing it as a Wrath. They're playing it as a way to get energy and a way to reanimate cards and spend that energy. You know what? I don't know. I put cards like Pestilence up here because of their potential to do dumb things. I'm going to put Demon of Dank Memes up here because it does have potential to do dumb things. And I'm willing to see through to its potential. So there was a time when treasure cards used to be really strong. Like, they just kept printing all these broken cards that said the word treasure on it. because they were the new like cute thing to be doing. And then there was a card called Dockside Extortionist, and then we weren't allowed to do that anymore. So then we started printing cards like Blood Money that say 7 mana, destroy all creatures for each non-token creature. Don't need that clause. Destroy this way, you create a tapped treasure token. There's a world where I am consistently paying 7 mana to cast Blood Money, making 12 untapped treasure tokens, and recasting my commander and casting another spell from hand to reset up. And I'm going, you know what? 7 mana for a Wrath that lets me reset really quickly is an S tier card. But it doesn't say that. It says, wait a whole turn, you stupid fucking bitch. And because of that, it has to remain in D tier. But Alex, you say, what if I played a treasure deck? And once again, I have to ask, why are you not winning the game for 7 mana in your treasure deck? Why are you getting to 7 mana in your treasure deck and going, you know what I really want to do right now? I want to kill the board. No, win, please. Get it, stop, quit, don't get F tier, stop, but just play a good Wrath in your deck. It does say non-vampire. Hold up, it does say non-vampire. I'm not putting it in B tier. I refuse. Did I put a similar card in A tier? Yeah. I like squirrels more than I like vampires. Get out of my face. All creatures get -X, works the number of permanent cards in your graveyard. It's worse than Languish. It's worse than Languish. That's about what I'll say. 1 ring to rule them all. For 1 turn, this does nothing. The ring tempts us, and then each player mills cards equal to the ring man's power. Importantly, each player, so it includes us, which is... then, for 2, it pops all non-legendary creatures. Remember, we want to kill the strongest card on our opponent's board, and then everything else. The strongest card on our opponent's board is probably their commander. So, it's kind of sketch. 3 mana, each opponent loses 1 life for each creature card in their graveyard. So it's worse than Death Tempest, because Death Tempest does this, but like better in every way. The ring tempting us does mean we get 1 additional non-legendary creature besides our commander. Also, it's a saga, meaning it is a historic card. So maybe there's some like historic decks that really enjoy this card. Yeah, this is pretty plainly B tier, right? Like it's almost a one-sided Wrath that also does additional things, and like there's decks that's going to love this card. I should call her. Final act, 6 mana, choose 1 or more, pop all creatures, something white can do more efficiently, and black can do more efficiently. Destroy all planeswalkers, something black can do more efficiently. Destroy all battles. Fake card type. Exile all graveyards. Why do I want to do that in black? Each opponent loses all counters. That is not a good thing. Like, what? Am I afraid of experience counters? Or am I playing Azuri in 2025? No. They're getting poison counters. They're getting counters that, like, hurt them. Final Act is a C tier. It's at the top of C tier because people have accidentally put this in their deck before, thinking that it was going to be the next version of a better card. Other creatures get -1/-1. 4 mana, 3/2. It's a legend, so it has legend synergies. I think this card is just like very solidly under Evankar because Evankar is one-sided and is also a board buffer. But I don't know. Like it's cute. You could play it. Pestilent Haze. Quit it. Hellfire. Amazing art. 5 mana. 5 mana. Pop all non-black creatures. Deal X plus 3 to you, where X is the number of creatures put into the graveyard this way. Wow, I'm simply never putting this card in my deck, ever. Wow. 5 mana destroy all non-black creatures is like a pretty decent rate for this effect. We've seen it at like 7 mana up here that came with a body. But this just chunking us for 30 is probably enough for it to go at the very bottom of F tier, because like 30 is a lot of damage to get chunked with, and I'm not willing to take the hit on that. It's targeted Wrath again, but this time we get to draw a card for each creature destroyed this way. Nope. No, we don't. It's at the bottom of D tier because they could draw some cards. They could be cute. Rain of Daggers. Okay. So instead of drawing a card for each creature destroyed this way, we're going to lose all 2 life. Yeah, this is also... I just don't... Here's the thing. If I'm playing against somebody who doesn't have that many creatures, why am I wrathing them? And if I'm playing against somebody who has 30 creatures, I don't want to get my shit pushed in by my own 6-drop. I do not understand how difficult that is to understand. Crypt Rats. 3 mana 1/1. Deal X to each creature and each player. Spend only black mana on X. This can get reanimated. This can get returned from your graveyard to your hand over and over again to wrath the board over and over again. It is a solid B tier card. It's pretty low in the B tier, but it's a solid B tier card. There's a world where I'm doing stuff with this. Non-snow creatures get -X/-X for another with snow permanents you control. So this card is this, but for Tarmogoyfs, is this, but for snow creatures. What deck do I think is better, Tarmogoyfs or snow creatures? I think Tarmogoyfs are a better archetype than snow. Snow has gotten so much support and is still just so horrid. Chat. I have put this card in a deck before. 7 mana 4/5. When it enters the battlefield, creatures my opponents control get -2/-2. I know, it's horrid. But I can pay 5 to return it from my graveyard to the battlefield and exile at the end of the turn. Or if it would leave the battlefield. I have played this card because if you unearth it and then flicker it, the unearth doesn't replace the flicker. So it gets to come back and give -4/-4 to all your opponent's cards. And stick around because it's no longer tied to the unearth. It's not good. Like, what do you want from me? I've just played it before. It goes in D tier. It's probably lower than like the other cards that have been like, you could build a deck where this card sees some play. Toxic Deluge, pay X life, give all creatures -X/-X. Was this ever not going in S tier? Like, be real. 3 mana for a Wrath that gets around indestructible is incredible. It's like just genuinely incredible. Its downside is the fact that you have to pay life, but like you pay like 6 life to this and you don't even feel it in most blacklists. I think Toxic Deluge is just an easy S tier. We don't really have to consider it a lot. 6 mana. Reanimate all zombie creatures. Destroy all humans. This isn't a Wrath. How often do I want to destroy all humans? I on occasion. Like, if this said destroy all elves, I actually don't think it'd be that high. But, like, so many strong cards are humans. And this card is, like... this card destroys all of the biggest creature type in the game. And then also is a mass reanimate spell for your zombies. It lands in C tier because it does things on occasion, and I can't be mad about that. Put X -1/-1 counters on each creature, shuffle Black Sun Zenith. So, this card makes me upset. If you don't know, Black Sun Zenith is the way that you can put the most amount of -1/-1 counters on creatures at the same time. There's a lot of effects that put a single -1/-1 counter on cards. There's a couple of effects that put 2 or 3 -1/-1 counters on cards. That's it. I know you're thinking in your head like, no, there's like a card that puts like 13 -1/-1. No, there isn't. Like, there are none above like 3. It's really actually incredibly sad. So if there's a deck that wants to, in one shot, put a lot of Negwa encounters on a creature, like, I don't know, they have an entire deck idea that revolves around the concept that didn't actually work because he didn't read how the rules works. All of a sudden, Black Sun Zenith is like really up there. But I mean, besides that, you're playing Black Sun Zenith. So it's landing in like mid D tier as just it does something that no other card in the game does, which makes me, like, as a deck builder, really excited, but that's all it does. Deadly Cover Up, 5 mana, destroy all creatures. Already, that simple line is enough to put it at the top of C tier. Just 5 mana, destroy all creatures, no other text. But it does have other text. As an additional cost, you may exile up to 6 CMC worth of cards from your graveyard. If you do so, exile a card from an opponent's graveyard, then search its owner's graveyard, hand, and library for any number of cards with that same name and exile them. That player shuffles, then draws a card for each card exiled from their hand. Yes, Deadly Cover-Upping a Shadowborn Apostle sends them straight to hell, one-way ticket, no refunds. Other than that, it does actually exile from graveyard before they get a chance to respond. So, like, if they have a card that they're reanimating over and over again, a card with Undying, a card that's, like, hard to kill, Deadly Cover-Up might be able to just get you there sometimes, which I think is enough to bump it up to, like, a mid-B tier. It's not hitting, like, it's probably hitting the Languish line. Languish is hitting a new line of, like, just very mediocre Wraths, and I'm excited for Languish to be there. Death Cloud. Black, 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 and X for a sorcery. Each player loses X life, discards X cards, sacrifices X creatures, sacrifices X lands. It's almost not a Wrath in the same way that everything else is, because, like, realistically, you win a Death Cloud, X is, like, 5, and reset the table. Except you're ahead, because you're playing, like, artifacts or something. I want to say Death Cloud is high A, because in an artifact deck, in an enchantress deck, in a planeswalker deck that is not actually winning through creatures, Death Cloud X is like 5 is going to win you the game, because you're going to have a board set up. All your opponents are going to get their whole board reset, their hand ripped apart, and all their lands gone, so it's hard for them to reset up. Like, yes, mass land destruction is like a no-go for Commander and at the casual level, but I think if you're in like a high enough power place, Death Cloud is, sometimes it just reads, I win the game, which is something that very few Wraths on this list to do. On the other hand, we have Forced March. X, black, black, black. Destroy all creature with converted mana cost X or less. Realistically, it's somewhere up here with like the other cards that do very similar effects, but it's unfortunate how like some of these cards are just not interesting. So like I can't actually give you that much cool information on them. They're just bad. 4 mana. So we actually had 4 mana Wrath that was a saga, and it landed in B tier. So let's see what this hits. 4 mana. Put a counter on a creature. It becomes an artifact. 2. Destroy all non-artifact creatures. 3. Exile all opponents' graveyards. So these are the same card, right? Like, we're in agreement that these are just literally 1-for-1 the same card, because we talked about how this is like destroy all creatures except for your commander and one additional creature of your choice. That's what Phyrexian Scripture is. It's like destroy all creatures except for the artifacts, which obviously you're an artifact deck if you're playing this, and you get to choose one other little guy. Usually, artifact commander decks don't play an artifact creature in the command zone. So this is like, choose that one little guy. He gets to stick around with us. Also, it exiles opponent's graveyards, which, like, that's going to be annoying, right? Our opponent goes, make one of their creatures an artifact, blow up the board, have a overwhelming board advantage, and then goes, draw, main one, also rip your graveyards. And you're going to go, oh man, that's like sort of annoying. Invasion of Fiora. is a hold on, let me just, 6 mana for a battle. It's a siege. Thank God for my siege deck. 4 loyalty. Whenever it ETBs, destroy all legends or non-legendary creatures. Sure. So we could play legends in a deck, and no one's gonna stop us. And then invasion becomes like a semi one-sided wrath. Or we could just play this to pop all of their like commanders and play a deck that really doesn't revolve around their commanders and just have this be 6 mana. Screw your commanders over. Yeah, okay. This card seems fine. Well, what happens if we flip it? Good. Menace, Death Touch, Hot. Sorry, that was meant to be internal. Whenever Marchesa, Resolute Monarch attacks, remove all creatures from target permanent. This is obviously the card in the Battles deck that they pretended was real. This is the card you're supposed to flip first, and then it flips all your other battles, because this would flip another battle every attack. And then at the beginning of your upkeep, if you haven't been dealt damage since your last turn, you draw a card and lose 1 life. So Marchesa gives you the monarchy, but in a very strange way, which I think is very cute. In a battle deck, this card is a B tier. It's like quite strong. In every other scenario, it's like a D tier wrath. So it lands solemnly in C tier, and Marchesa hits our weird and wacky tier. Whale of the Nim, 3 mana, an instant somehow with his art. This was back when they used to like not really know how to make art in Magic. Choose 1, regenerate each creature you control, or Whale of the Nim deals 1 damage to each creature in each player. Did you know Black had Heroic Intervention for like a while before Green did? It did. Also, sorry, you can pay 1 more black mana to do both at the same time. Huh. Regenerating all of our creatures is not bad. Like, there's a lot of Wraths, Damnation included, which makes that not matter. But, like, regenerating all of your creatures is going to occasionally be very strong. And dealing 1 to each creature is also occasionally going to shut somebody out of the game. I'm willing to put this in a mid D tier. It has plays. It is sort of cute. Each opponent separates from the creatures they control to 2 piles. For each opponent, choose 1 of their piles. They sacrifice the creatures in their chosen pile. Do you remember when we had a 2-drop that did something very similar? And I said, this doesn't kill their strongest creature and something else. This does. At the end of the day, when your opponent's on Narset and your opponent's going to win the game if they keep their commander, make an example says, destroy the best creature on each opponent's board. But sometimes it puts them into really awkward positions where they have to sort like a bunch of creatures into different piles. Where? Oh, here we go. Into different piles and be like kind of awkward. So it lands solidly in the B tier. It's not it is a one-sided wrath, which makes it a little better, but it's kind of mediocre. I'm not willing to throw it that high up. 7 mana for a 5/6 dragon. Whenever it enters the battlefield, if you cast it from your hand, gross, and there are 5 or more creatures on the battlefield, disgusting, destroy all other creatures. People have played it in dragon decks because people are bad at deck building. At the end of the day, this card isn't a synergy piece for any deck. It is Dread Cacodemon. Where's Dread Cacodemon? You've fallen a little bit. You get to be here now. Because actually, it's not even a one-sided wrath. It destroys all creatures. This card is mid. This card is insanely mid, which is crazy. Because I feel like I've seen this card multiple times. And it's just not that strong. Choose 1 for 5 mana. Exile each creature with number power greater than the number of cards in your hand or less than. Remember, we don't really like exile wraths in this color. We really don't enjoy them that much. But it is 5 mana. At the end of the day, it's going to exile like a lot of your choice. I think it's probably landing solidly in C tier as a card that, like, on occasion does quite a lot. Massacre. If your opponent controls a plains and you control swamp, you may play it without paying its mana cost. All creatures get -2, -2. You might notice the graveyard of F tier cards that all say creatures get -2, -2 until end of turn. And you're going to watch this card hit C tier. At the end of the day, you play Massacre in certain CDH decks because you don't care about your board state. It kills Kinnan and it kills Magda for free on turn 2. It's going to see play in occasional high-power commander decks that just want cards that you can cast for free because they're cycling through a bunch of cards. This card has its place. It can do something cute. It's going to land above the F tier line with all the other effects like it. Ichor Explosion is not. First off, just look at that art. Beautiful art of a Loxodon just kind of eating shit. As an additional cost to cast it, sacrifice a creature. All creatures get -X, works as the sacrificed creature's power. So you're telling me that not only do I have to pay 7 mana for a not one-sided Wrath, I also have to lose my biggest creature. And not Wrath everything. Cool beans, bro. 6 mana, pop all creatures. Lands it into D tier already, just off that line alone. It is a Wrath. Which is, it's crazy that we have a line in the Wrath tier list that is, hey, it destroys all creatures. It goes up here, I guess. Search target opponent's library for 3 creature cards and put them in their graveyard. Oh, never mind. Sorry. I thought this said target player, and I was like, hold on. What are we cooking here? 6 mana Buried Alive that comes with a Wrath of God? That's kind of crazy. But no, it's actually giving it to our opponents. Most decks like getting their creatures milled. So, yeah, no, I don't think I want to Buried Alive my opponent. And also Wrath. Screams of the Damned. 5 mana for an uncommon enchantment. Pay 2, remove a card in your graveyard from the game. Deal 1 to each creature and each player. It's worse than Pestilence for sure. The upside, though, is some decks like exiling cards. Like, there's quite a few cards, or it's landing in the bottom of C tier, but there's quite a few decks that are like, when you exile a card or when a card leaves your graveyard, do something. And Screams of the Damned is a repeatable way to do that over and over again. So there are definitely like a lot, honestly. I was about to say plural decks, but there are like a lot of decks that want Screams of the Damned in there as a cute little like finisher. Phyresis Outbreak, I've played this card. Each opponent gets a poison counter. Then each creature your opponents control get -1/-1 for each poison counter its controller has. This is an A tier card. One-sided Wraths, the best part about them is being able to go one-sided Wrath, attack for lethal. And Phyresis Outbreak does it better than any other one-sided Wrath because it, like, think about it, right? If you're saying, if you convert it from Infect to a normal thing, what if this card said, each opponent loses 4 life? Then each creature our opponent control gets -1/-1 for each 4 life its opponent has lost this game. And you'd think like, okay, so my opponent's at 20. I go Phyresis Outbreak, put them to like 16, so they're already kind of scared. Then I'm going to give all the creatures -6/-6, and all of a sudden my opponent's looking at me like, oh, he has super lethal on me. That's what Phyresis Outbreak does. You just have to convert it into normal damage terms because like so many Magic players are terrified of Infect that, you know, it doesn't see a lot of casual play because so many people hate the deck. But genuinely, you can build Infect to be cool, and Phyresis Outbreak becomes a one-sided board wipe that sometimes just leads to the game ending. One of the cutest one of the cutest Wraths we've gotten in a while. 6 mana, exile all creatures. Then, for each card exiled this way, you may play it as long as it remained exiled, and mana of any type can be spent to cast it. Exile, Heartless, Conscription. 8 mana Wrath is always going to have to come with like a huge upside, and the upside in this is being able to basically exile all creatures, draw like 8 cards because it is a lot of cards on the board. Is it enough to put it in like high C? No. No. There's just no deck that wants this. The deck that wants this is the deck that says when you cast cards from exile, do something strong. And that deck wants to be doing Cold Fusion with 8 mana. It does not want to be doing a board wipe with 8 mana. And that deck is also kind of hard to get to 8 mana. Because yes, you make like infinite treasures, but at the point where you're making a ton of treasures, you're making mana every time you cast spells from exile. Again, you don't want to be spending that on a Wrath. You want to be like progressing your own game state. 3 mana for a enchant land aura. This might be our first aura. No. This is our second aura. Enchant land has tap. This land deals 1 damage to each creature and its player. Can I give a land death touch? Like, easily. Is there a land creature that has death touch? I believe so. I think the black-green Battle for Zendikar land has death touch. If that is true, this card is bad. If that is false, this card is also bad. The way you would want to use this card is with like a land that you could somehow give death touch, but also not have it kill itself. I don't know. It's cute. Someone will find a way to build around it. Until then, it will land in D tier. Somebody will play I guarantee someone someday will play a Noxious Field against me, and I will lose the game hard to it. Outbreak, discard a swamp instead of paying this mana cost. Choose a creature type. All creatures of a chosen type get -1/-1 until end of turn. Yeah, no, we're not even playing this for like Massacre landed in C tier for its like play as a weird one-off in situations. Outbreak is not there. Like you have to discard a card, which means this is a, you know, at most like a 2 for 3. And think about the decks that you're like, I'm going to play against goblins and I'm going to feel good. And then goblins goes Cranko and you go Outbreak, idiot. And they go, word, my Cranko's still alive though. Like, did you notice that I still have a guy out? And you're like, So, yeah, no, Outbreak is not going to hit. Each creature for X, black, nuclear fallout. Each creature gets twice -X. Each player gets X rad counters. They realized how, wait, let me find Black Sun Zenith. Okay. Boop. They realized how bad Black Sun Zenith was, so they gave it twice Black Sun Zenith, and it's still not good enough to reach C tier, if we're being real. There's a deck that wants a bunch of rad counters, and this is a way to X. Each player gets X rad counters, which, like, sure, that's cute. Nothing really works, but whatever. Virtue's Realm. 3 mana. Destroy all white creatures. Where's our 3 mana card that destroys all black or all green creatures? Right there. What do you look at that? They're holding hands. Golden Demise. Nope. I'm not going to talk about it. You know what the card does. I've put it in F tier. Biting Rain. No, not talking about it. You know what the card does, because it's sitting by all the other cards in F tier that do the exact same thing. Kagamoto. First to Suffer. Okay, this is an actual card. 5 mana, legendary creature. One of the few cards that can be played as a commander. Its power and toughness are equal to the number of cards in your hand. Something very cute for black. Black actually does have like weird card draw amounts. Like it has like quite a few synergies with card draw that make you look into building something like this. You can also pay a black and sack it to make all creature get -X for the number of cards in your hand. So outside of a Kagamaru deck, what are you playing this in? You're playing this in like Nekusar as a threat, but like Nekusar has 15 threats that are more efficient. You're playing it in like a black-blue draw deck as a threat, but is that Emrakul? Look at that. Look at that shape. Like low-key, that's kind of Emrakul. It's also just a triangle. Before I can get too preoccupied, if it wasn't a legendary, it ends up in like D tier. As a legendary, though, there's a mono black deck that looks into all the cards that let you draw cards, gives its commander like lifelink and double strike, kills a human being, And then when a player goes, nope, I'm killing your commander, I cannot deal with this creature being on the battlefield anymore, you go, in response, pay a black, Wrath of God. And like you get to hold that button all the time of like, sure, you can kill my commander and stop me from killing the whole table. I'm going to Wrath of God in response. Okay, sure. D tier. Another legendary creature. You know what? No, that deck seems really cool. Not only does that deck seem really cool, I'm building it. Like, after this is done, you're going to see a 1-minute deck tech. We're going back to doing those, by the way. You're going to see a 1-minute deck tech that says, like, here's Kagomoro, mono black card draw. And you're going to be hyped because it's going to be sick. And also, you're going to get to listen to me do another 1-minute deck tech because I like that series. Hythania, the Cruel, 6 mana for a 4/6, Death Touch. Pay 8 to Monstrous at 3. Whenever it becomes monstrous, destroy all Gorgons. You might be thinking out there, Alex, are there enough Gorgons to make Hythania work? No. Not only no, not particularly close. There are more black cards that care about the amount of cards you have in hand to make that other deck work. Like, there are so few mono black Gorgons, it's kind of funny. It is a one-sided wrath at the end of the day. There's almost no cards that synergize with Monstrous, which is cringe. Monstrous is, yeah, I'll just say it. Monstrous is my favorite mechanic we've ever gotten, and it is sort of upsetting that we haven't gotten like much Monstrous support ever. But this is going to sit with Pelucranos in my I wish this card was like very playable. 5 mana, pop all creatures of the creature type of your choice. Mid D tier. Like, I'm also pretty sure this card is like very expensive for some reason, but so what is that flavor text? I once had an entire race killed just to listen to the rattling of their dried bones as I waded through them. What was Volrath on in this set? Oh my god. They weren't just treating him like an anime villain. They were treating him like a monster. Sure, man. I guess. Last Laugh. Whenever a permanent is put into the graveyard, it deals 1 damage to each creature and each player. Whenever no creatures are in play, sacrifice the last. Wait. This is Massacre Girl effect, right? When a permanent other than is put into the graveyard, deal 1 damage to each creature and each player. So you go Last Laugh. It's killable. Your opponent can naturalize it in response to shut off the chain. But you can go like Last Laugh, crack a fetch, deal 1 to everything, 4 1-drops die, 4 Last Laugh triggers, deal 4 to everything, kill the board, but also burn everyone for like a ton. This black burn deck that I'm talking about, that's like, you know, is potentially playable, plays Laugh Laughed, and is like the best card in the deck. This is a Massacre Girl that nobody is playing, genuinely. Like, it is just Massacre Girl, but everyone's a little too scared to put it in their deck. No one's scared of Psychotic Haze. You know what? There's one deck in the world that plays this card. It is the Madness deck with Anji that is willing to play every single card that has Madness in it, no matter what. That's the only deck that's actually doing this, and good for it. Sickening Dreams. I've played this a lot of times. 2 mana as an additional cost. Discard X cards. Deal X to each creature and each player. If you're playing at a store, which awards draws very highly at a casual level, Sickening Dreams is a really interesting way to scam out draws. As is, I mean, you can play an Ad Nauseam deck with like 96 lands and go Ad Nauseam Sickening Dreams everyone for 100 and do something very cute with that. You can play a deck that is all about discard and just discard a bunch of cards to get a bunch of triggers and then also Wrath. The card isn't good for sure, but it's cute. And I think that cuteness, you know what? That cuteness is all it deserves to get a low C tier. Wait. This one says can't be regenerated. I'm going to have to switch around those real quick. Genesis of the Daleks. This is our third saga. Let's see if it goes up with the other two. 6 mana. Bad news. 1, 2, and 3 create a Dalek for each lore counter on it. So a total of 6. And finally, 4 turns later, target opponent faces a choice. Pop all Daleks creatures, and your opponents lose life equal to the total power that have died this turn, or destroy all non-Dalek creatures. In the Dalek deck, I'm sure this is very cute. In the everything else, I would not touch this with a 10-foot pole. Welcome to C tier, bud. 5 left. Let's finish them off strong. Tegwill's Scouring, 6 mana. You may cast as though it had flash by tapping 3 creatures with flying, in addition to paying its other costs. Pop all creatures, then create 3/1/1 fairies. Now, the fairy deck wants to be playing at instant speed really bad. It's also playing blue, so it doesn't get the good white Wrath that lets you cast at instant speed. This is a Wrath that you can play at instant speed. This is B tier at least. Is it high B tier? No. But the fairy deck that wants to cast everything on its opponent's turn really likes Tegwill's Scouring. Really likes it. Also, making 3 fairies at the end of it means you get a little bit of a board. It's not a one-sided Wrath for sure, but you do get a little bit of a rebuy after everything happens. I don't mind placing this card in B tier at all. Spectre of Mortality, 5 mana for a 3/3 flyer. Whenever it enters the battlefield, exile 1 or more creature cards from your graveyard. Each other creature gets -X, works the number of cards exiled this way. It is a creature. It can be flickered. We have to keep that in our minds when we rate this card a mid C tier, is that it can do things. And I'm not mad at the things it does. Festering Evil, I'm mad at whatever the fuck this is doing. 5 mana. During your upkeep, deal 1 damage to each creature in each player. Sack it, deal 3 damage to each creature in each player. Womp, womp. Let's move on. I just don't want to look at that card art anymore if I'm being 100% with you. Black, instant. Target opponent chooses and buries a number of creatures he or she controls equal to the number of creatures put into a graveyard from play. It's bad. It's horrid. It's really awful. It's really, really terrible. I'm smiling because every time I see a new card that I've never seen before, and it's even a little bit playable, I'm like, ooh, that's new information. That's going in the bank. I'll remember that this card exists one day. But realistically, it is targeted Wraths. Those are not things we like doing. And it's a targeted Wrath that only works if you've already Wrathed. The answer is, though, there's a sliver player out there who is giving all of their creatures indestructible, and then you're getting Wrathed, and you're going Urborg Justice all your creatures. There's also an opponent who goes destroy all creatures I don't control, and you get to go Urborg Justice, pick up your board. Okay. Yeah, there's enough things here that I can put it in D tier. I like it. Exile all creatures and all planeswalkers with CMC 3 or less from the battlefield, and all creatures and planeswalkers with CMC 3 or less from all graveyards. It is much better than the cards that are at F tier that just say destroy all creatures with CMC 3 or less. So much better, in fact, that it's going to make a low D tier play because card isn't good, but it has singular plays, I guess. Let's check if we want to move anything around, really. This card, make 2 squirrels, and then each non-squirrel creature gets -1/-1. We thought it was going to be one-sided Wrath that does something is good enough to go to A tier. I just don't think it is. I think these one-sided Wraths need to land in the B tier alongside Crux of Fate and Cower and Fear. They need to be all kind of together. Pestilence also is getting moved all the way down to B tier. Yes, it's repeatable. Yes, it's decent enough to be here. I just can't deal with it. We just have so many better cards that do similar things. The Damnation line is really clean. I think every card below it is worse than just a Damnation. Every card above it is better for some decks. The Plague Wind section is cute. Sickening Dreams could actually go like here, because I think there are more worlds where you want to play Sickening Dreams than you want to play any of the other cards. Other than that, this is a really clean list. I like where we're at here. I'm gonna cut off F tier in like the big shot of all of them, so that you can see all the cards that actually matter. If you guys have any differences that you think is like, actually this card sucks and you're wrong, I don't care. Okay, but I do kind of care. Post it in the comments. Tell me what cards you think were like way underrated or way overrated. If you've played any of these cards that I was like, that I didn't say I've played before, I was like, ooh, Genesis of the Daleks, who? If you've played any of these cards and they actually performed way higher than you expected, tell me about it in the comments. Other than that, please like and subscribe. I'm going to start posting more stuff everywhere. It's been so long since I was posting stuff, but day one of the streak, baby. We're back to it.